It is now my honor to introduce our first panel of the day. Very excited about this panel. I mentioned during my opening remarks our Vets Indexes Employer Awards. We had our inaugural round of those last year. And this next panel is comprised exclusively of organizations that got our highest possible award level, Vets Indexes 5-star employers. Thought it would be a good idea. A lot of the purpose of this conference is to share best practices. And, these are the guys who really just maxed out in our evaluation. So I thought it could be really useful to get them all together to discuss the most important aspects of their veterans program and veterans programs and share some lessons learned. So I will introduce now the moderator of this panel, Gerald Williams, Chief Operating Officer for OMNI Technologies. And I'll let Gerald go ahead and introduce everyone on the panel. One last note before we get this panel started. If any of you all have questions that you'd like the panelists, they will hopefully find some time toward the end of the presentation, end of the panel to answer those questions. Please just enter your questions in the chat box, and our moderator will go back through and try to answer them as he and the panel best can. So with that, I will kick it off to Gerald. Please take over, Gerald.
Good morning. Good morning. Sound check. Everything good, George?
We hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. Well, good morning. As George mentioned, I'm Gerald Williams, Chief Operating Officer at OMNI Technologies, LLC, and I will serve as your moderator for this roundtable discussion. So welcome to the Vets Indexes 5-star Employer Best Practices Roundtable. If you're interested in gaining more insight on the various aspects and implementations of corporate veterans programs, you're in the right place. Our 4 panelists have clearly defined and detailed corporate programs which have resulted in their selection as a Vets Indexes 5-star employer. On our panel today, we have George Bernloeher. He's a lead associate at Booz Hamilton. We have Anthony Felice. He's a managing partner at Drexel Hamilton. We have Kelly French. He's the Veteran Talent Acquisition Coordinator at United Rentals. And last but certainly not least, we have Tom Watson, who is a Senior Vice President of Defense Services with Serco. So I know you all are really excited to hear from these leaders and learn more about their respective approaches to recruiting, hiring, and retaining veterans. So without further delay, let's hear from our panelists. We'll start with George. George, if you would give a brief intro of yourself and give us some insight on your approach to this great feat of recruiting, hiring, and retaining veterans.
Hey, Gerald, happy to be a part of this. Thanks, Vet Indexes, and Gerald for having me as a member of this panel. As Gerald mentioned, I'm George Bernloeher. I'm part of our military and veteran affairs team at Booz Allen Hamilton. Background on me before I dive into Booz Allen. I'm a veteran of the Navy, 20 years Navy, Naval Aviation Maintenance. Last duty station was NAS Atlanta. Believe it or not, the Navy used to have a naval air station and just north of Atlanta, Georgia. I transitioned out of the Navy in Atlanta, and we decided I live in the Atlanta metro area now. As I transitioned out of the Navy, I launched a career in recruiting, and for the last 21 years, most of that recruiting experience has been in the veteran space. I've been with Booz Allen for nearly 8 years now. Started off at Booz Allen as a client-facing recruiter, then a lead recruiter for the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. For 3.5 years, I led the military hiring initiative at Booz Allen Hamilton, and for the last 2 years, I've been a part of our military and veteran affairs team. So at Booz Allen Hamilton, a lot of times when people think of the company, they think, well, you're a DoD contractor, so tapping into the military is just a no-brainer. It makes sense. But what I wanted to share with you is Booz Allen is much, much more than just a DoD contractor. Yes, the DoD is part of our business portfolio, but we are a large technical and management consulting firm and technical service delivery company. And we have military talent all throughout Booz Allen Hamilton. So it's not just the DoD space that we support, but it's all aspects: health, technology, analytics, et cetera. And the main driver for that, it's the quality of the military connected talent pool that has us hiring from there. Our goal this year is to have 36% of our hires be military connected talent. And again, that's for individuals to serve all throughout Booz Allen Hamilton. And it's mostly because of not just the leadership skills, but the learning agility and all the positive attributes that military connected talent bring to an organization. And that's been one of the main drivers here at Booz Allen. Right now, about a third of our staff is made up of military connected talent. That's almost 9,000 people within Booz Allen Hamilton that have served, basically. And again, our goal this year is that 36% of our hires be military connected talent. We have a goal of about 7,000 hires, so that's going to be about 2,500 connected hires by the time we hit the end of our fiscal year, assuming we hit that goal. One of the projects that I wanted to put a special emphasis on before turning it over to the next speaker is recently we launched a MilTech workforce initiative. And this is not just beneficial to Booz Allen Hamilton, although we hope, to be the beneficiaries of it, but it's a project that's aimed at transitioning military professionals to start thinking about technically oriented careers. We have a huge demand at Booz Allen, and I know that there are several other companies out there that have the same, a huge demand for individuals to find career opportunities that are technically focused in cyber with an emphasis on cybersecurity, in analytics with an emphasis on artificial intelligence and more specific data science within artificial intelligence, in the digital space with an emphasis on software development, software engineering, as well as cloud. And the neat thing about this is you don't necessarily have to be a computer science major or a software engineer major to be competitive for these roles. So what we launched is guidance to help, especially transitioning military professionals, better prepare themselves for careers that do have a focus with with a technical bent to them. And we're pretty excited to roll this out to help individuals with that transition. And again, we hope to capitalize on folks that take up that guidance and bring on individuals in those roles. Like I said, there's a huge demand right now. And based on our research, the future demand for these roles that are more technically oriented is doing nothing but growing. So it's just one of the programs or projects that I wanted to spotlight as part of my introduction. Thanks, Gerald.
All right, George, thank you for that. I made note of, you mentioned the military connected talent pool and how you were setting those hiring targets. So I think those are good nuggets for us to take away from this, setting those goals, those measurable goals, and giving ourselves something to work for in our recruiting efforts when looking for those MilTech workforce type individuals who can transition from the military to the civilian professional career. So thank you for sharing that, George.
Absolutely.
All right, now we'll hear from Anthony Felice, managing partner at Drexel Hamilton.
Hello, how you doing? Anthony Felice, one of the managing partners over here at Drexel Hamilton. We're a veteran-owned and operated investment bank, founded in 2007 by a Vietnam vet named Larry Dahl. And it was founded for the sole purpose of kind of having young men and women coming off deployments that maybe missed a bank recruiting cycle to kind of get into the financial service area, Wall Street, underwriting, trading. Kind of started out small throughout the 2010s, grew into a much larger firm, kind of always keeping that mission. Our goal here is to have at least 50% of the staff be veterans. We are currently sitting right about 60%, so we're really proud about that. 60% of our staff are veterans, and we're pretty unique in the fact that we are, I think, probably the only, in financial service land, the only 100% veteran-owned and operated bank of our kind. And again, sole mission is hiring vets, and we provide internships in the summers for veterans that are kind of in college, that may be out of service, or maybe sometimes even in service, that still want to see if they can do financial service work, because it is taxing. We have a defined training program, but I hesitate to say training program because I hear that thrown around a lot. And our training program starts with a full-time employment offer. It's not an internship. It's not kind of for credit, college credit. We provide W-2 wages, livable wages to veterans that want to break in this area and get them working right away. It's very much a teach the veteran how to fish as opposed to give them a fish. And so, we've been doing this now for 14 years. I think we do it pretty well as far as onboarding. We see resumes from everywhere. Can't hire everybody, but the ones that we do, we go through a detailed screening process. Ones that we maybe cannot take on, we help them transition, resume programs, and referral services to our counterparts and our larger institutions that we work with. And I think in our history, we've had probably close to 100 veteran alumni that have come to Drexel, worked here, trained here, learned the business here, and then moved on to kind of bigger, better banks, which we're super proud of as well.
All right, Anthony, thank you for that. I made note of, and I thought it was interesting that you said, you all hire first and then train. And that's, to me, is important because you're gainfully employing those veterans while they're getting trained up for that professional career within your organization. So thank you for sharing that nugget with us today.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them come to us not looking to be part of an internship training. They're looking for a job.
Right.
So that's what we provide.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, now we will go ahead and turn the control of the meeting over to Tom Watson, Senior Vice President, Defense Services with Serco.
Thanks to everybody for listening this morning. And appreciate the Vets Indexes for putting this conference together. I'm honored to have the privilege to participate in the panel today and get to talk about an area that I'm really, really passionate about, and that's giving back to those who have served. Now, Serco is a large federal contractor who serves important customers across the federal government, to include the DoD and federal civilian agencies. Now, my role at Serco is headed the Defense Services Group, but I also have the honor to serve as the executive sponsor for our Serco Vets Employee Resource Group, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about this morning. I'm a Navy veteran, and I've been with Serco for over 3 years. Now, our Serco Vets ERG is part of our broader diversity and inclusion efforts and is open to all employees who are veterans, military spouses, family members, or just allies who support them. The Serco is dedicated to providing a workplace that attracts, hires, develops, and retains veterans and military spouses. Our mission is to provide a forum for those who are interested in supporting veterans and veterans initiatives to help improve hiring, engagement, and retention. And this is very important to Serco because our largest customer is the U.S. government and the military services, and over 25% of our workforce are veterans. So veterans come to us with the experience, skills, qualifications, capabilities, clearances, work ethic, and passion for the mission. So supporting veterans is directly in line with our strategic priorities of taking care of our people, supporting our customers, giving back to our communities, and successfully growing our business. It is also directly in line with our values as a company, and I believe it is just simply the right thing to do. So I really appreciate everyone participating here today and hope we can all learn something from each other on ways that we can collectively improve our ability to support our veterans communities. Thanks. George, back to you.
Tom, thank you for sharing that. And I'll note something that you mentioned that was interesting to me when you mentioned employing military spouses. Oftentimes we focus on employing the vet, him or herself, and we don't think about the spouses who support the veteran's home as well. So thank you for sharing that nugget. And that's good information to bring back to make sure we incorporate as part of our programs to not only focus on veterans, but the spouses of veterans as well. So thank you for sharing that.
That's correct. The spouses serve too.
That's right. Thank you. All right. So now we'll hear from Kelly. Kelly, are you ready to go ahead and give us a rundown, give us an intro of yourself, and tell us about your program?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay? Outstanding. Well, hey, Gerald, thank you very much. You and Nick inviting us out to represent and speak to the group here today on the call. I really appreciate it. I'm a Marine. My name's Kelly French, and I'm a Marine. I've been working in military recruiting for about 30 years. I proudly work at United Rentals. We are the largest equipment rental company in the world. So recruiting out of the military is just a natural for us. Because of all the transitionable skills that they bring to the table. As we all know, the military runs on equipment. Veterans are highly adaptable, trainable individuals, so they're a great fit for us. And for those of you that don't have defined programs, I'd like to kind of go over a couple of things that you could do to start out with. Some of them very simple, some of them more complex, depending on how deep you want to get into it. Like for us, just a little quick success story. We're having a problem meeting our skill gap. And about 7 years ago, we created a program called Service to Employment STEP. And we all know in a 4.8% unemployment market, you just can't afford to be a sacred salesman out there anymore. So we got to promote our opportunities to the communities and those individuals that we're trying to attract, in this case, the veteran community and spouse community. So I would recommend, starting to identify those roles that would be great fits for them, that are transitional from the military. And then if possible, try to open, possibly a training program. We created the Step Tech training program targeting technicians where they get, it's paid, and they get 9 weeks of training, 5 weeks of classroom, followed by 4 weeks of OJT. And we have a 98% placement rate with our graduates, and we will actually have nearly 400 people we've graduated from the program and successfully hired from it. As of tomorrow, we have our last class of the year is graduating. Some of the other things that I think could be very successful for individuals is also supporting like Skills Bridge and CSP opportunities. It's very easy to connect with Skills Bridge. They're looking for employers to provide training opportunities to their active duty servicemen and women, to give them an opportunity to learn new skills and traits and transfer those into the civilian workforce as they get ready to separate from the military. So a great opportunity to have them come work for you. They are paid, insured, and housed by the military. So it's a great opportunity for us as employers to see them in action. And it's a great try-buy scenario for everyone. Also, just, some of the things that you can do internally. We have, of course, our own ERG, very active. Over 10% of the company is a member of the military ERG. We also have all of our veterans are specially identified when they join the company. They all get a special welcome aboard kit that has, stickers and patches identifying themselves as veterans. We're very proud of that. We also have special branded military veteran apparel for all of our veterans to wear, everybody from our mechanics to our branch managers. And anyway, so it's really nice to have that type of recognition in just our apparel. We also have a fantastic landing page, something very easy for any employer to do. Stand up a military recruiting landing page, get some testimonials on there and some photographs of some veterans that you have about their success in joining your company, and just kind of sell the sizzle about, why it's important, why it's great to join your organization. Also, we do, simple things like a weekly distribution list that goes out to nearly every military base in continental United States. It goes out to all the TAP lever DVOP offices around the United States we do it every Monday. So just little things like that they go a long way in communicating your message to the veterans and the spouses that you're valued, that you want them. So some of the other things, and on-base events. I mean, some of the best ways you're going to connect with the military are through on-base events, held by the bases, through the TAP offices. There are other venues that you can join, but I think the ones that are actually held by the bases are the ones that are most impactful and have the best turnout for those, the troops and the soldiers, sailors, Marines, whatever, and give you a great opportunity. And for us, we've identified regional and district champions that go out that are all veterans. So we want our veterans speaking with the veterans at these events to make that connection, so they understand that we understand where they've been. We've walked in the same boots they have, and really identify with them and help them to appreciate what it is that we're looking for in them as an employee. So it's just a great way to get knee to knee with the people that you really want to hire. I would also suggest, the social media. It's free. That's one of my favorite sayings. If it's free, it's for me, right? So get out there and sign up for, LinkedIn is so easy to join the groups and do, little stuff like that. But there's also other great groups out there to support you. WoundedWarriorProject.org. It's a national organization. You can post jobs there. You can do presentations through them nationally. Also, who hasn't heard of MSEP, Military Spouse Employment Program .org? A great organization supporting our spouses. We do a lot of great work with them. Have had really good success in bringing on some great spouses into our organization. Military.com. Oh my gosh, what a great resource for all employers. They have a terrific base finder. It's got phone numbers and connections that you can make. Pick up the phone, call the base, say, I want to talk to the Transition Assistance Program office. They will connect you, and just make that call and make that connection. Some of the companies out there, you're small and you're local, and deal with your local bases. Some of us are national. So I just started creating a laundry list years ago of all the bases and all the connections. And over my 30 years of recruiting, I have everybody on it.
Well, Kelly, I like a couple of things, and you'll see the diversity between the members of the panel. I like how you highlighted telling those success stories from the employees who are veterans, and using that landing page and marketing. So we've talked about the different aspects of hiring and then training. We talked about making the connection and having targeted goals for your hiring processes. And then we talked about including the military spouses. And so what I like to do now is ask a couple questions of the panelists as we monitor the chat to see if any attendees have questions. I'd like to ask a couple questions of the panelists. The first one is, I'll start with Anthony. Anthony, can you tell us what challenges or hurdles you have encountered with the implementation of your program?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's such a technical thing, the capital markets and trading. So when we hire somebody, we hire a veteran to come on board, we are hiring them for a specific department, whether it be the debt capital markets, the equity capital markets, the municipal areas, structured products. What's tough is markets sometimes don't cooperate, and one area becomes hotter than the other, and we need kind of support in one area. So we've tried to do kind of a baseline. As soon as someone comes on board, they learn the language, the bond language, they learn equity language, they learn the language of kind of finance, which has been a lot harder during COVID because we were not sitting together. I think we've hired probably about 8 people from the start of COVID to now, veterans that have kind of no financial service background, and been trying to get them up to speed in a remote environment has been a little tougher. It's been better now because we've been able to pop into the office. We're located in downtown Manhattan, so that was, not allowed for a while to even go in the office. So that was good. So that was a challenge. These Microsoft Teams, Zooms have helped. It's a little tougher though. It's not as solid as it is live in person, because it is such a kind of pointing to a screen and showing them, this is going this way, this is going that way, and giving them reasons why. We're lucky in the fact that, we have military veterans and then financial veterans on our staff that are great. I mean, we just, and it's a team that it really does the mentoring. They take it real serious. It's pretty much the core reason why we exist. But that is kind of the hard part, at least in our world, is you bring someone on board for a specific role, and we might have to lift and shift them, to use an old military term, lift and shift to them to somewhere else, kind of midstream. But again, another reason why we like hiring vets, they're used to that, right? They're used to kind of, all right, I'm coming off the line, I'm over here, I'm doing, and they have multiple, job. I remember in the military, the additional duty wagon used to hit you, and you'd be like, all of a sudden you're doing tax returns for an entire unit, right? That it's not as surprising to a military veteran as it is to someone like, what you want me to do? What? So it's kind of good. It's a challenge, but it's also kind of a strength, and why we love kind of bringing vets on board.
All right, thank you, Anthony, for sharing that. That was great. The flexibility and adaptability of veterans is unmatched. So as we're talking about challenges or hurdles, George, is there anything you can add as far as the challenges or hurdles that you have encountered with the implementation of your program?
Yeah, in the past, and this is especially for organizations that might just be in the process of maybe launching a military hiring initiative, some of the challenges that you'll face could be that internal communication first. You may have your senior leadership on board saying, hey, this is a great idea because of all the positive attributes that, veterans, that veteran community, the military talent can bring to an organization. In fact, I'd just like to add one more to the list, and that's the learning agility piece. I think just because of how we're brought up in the military, I mean, you think about it. You think about, you got training in a specific role. Maybe you were an avionics technician. Maybe you were a pilot. But think about all those collateral duties and additional jobs that you were assigned, oftentimes with no experience at all. And you're just thrown in there, and you're expected to become that subject matter expert in a short period of time. Well, based on that environment, one of the positive attributes that I continuously highlight is the learning agility of veterans and those that make up the veteran piece, because of how quickly they can learn and catch on. And Gerald and others that have mentioned too, you couple that learning agility with the dedication, with the focus, with the that mission mindset, and you just get some great employees. So what you may face sometimes when you're first launching a program like this is that internal buy-in, piece. Again, you may have your leadership on board because they get it, but if the organization, if the company hasn't shared that information up and down the chain of command, especially with those individuals that are going to be leading that new hire, especially if they're a new veteran hire, if they haven't been trained on how it's going to benefit them for making a focus on these hires, it can become a big mess, frankly, for some organizations. So before you even make an effort to hire that first veteran, make sure that the entire company gets it, again, up and down the chain of command, and especially how they will benefit from the program. Just a real quick story. There was an organization out there. I'm not going to throw the name in it, but they launched a military hiring initiative. It was a new CEO that came in, and he brought that with him. So at the leadership piece, they got it, but they failed to tell the story and get the internal buy-in, again, up and down the chain of command, especially at those mid-level manager, type roles. But they also went about branding this initiative that this was going to be a fast track promotion process for military connected talent that they brought on board. What they didn't realize was some of these folks at that mid-level management position, they more or less felt threatened by this new talent that was going to be coming on board. And some of them had the opinion of, wait, you want me to bring in a veteran and then train somebody who's going to take my promotion? So it wasn't again, they didn't effectively tell the story throughout the organization on how that mid-level management could actually benefit from having this person on their team and building their team, and could probably even lead to that individual's promotion. So make sure that you've got the whole hiring initiative briefed up and down your chain of command, that everybody gets it, they understands the benefit from it, so that you can approach it from a team type approach. And that could be one of your biggest hurdles and one of your biggest challenges if you don't go through that process right there.
That's good information, George. Thank you for sharing that. It's important, with any initiative that you have buy-in, not only from the leadership, but the individuals that you expect to actually, implement that program, or the individuals that you expect to execute. So thank you for calling that out for us, George.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our next question is, what advice would you provide to a small organization or to a corporation that doesn't have a clearly defined program for recruiting, hiring, and retaining veterans? So I know we've kind of touched on it throughout the roundtable, but if you could sum it up into a few sentences, Tom, what advice would you give one of those organizations who might not have that robust program?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, what we did and what was so successful for us is we started an ERG, an employee resource group. It's not difficult. It's not expensive. All you got to do is find a good leader, somebody who's passionate about the topic, some folks that are highly engaged, who are willing to support it. You don't need to go out and create a whole office around this. For me and for my team, this is all volunteer. This is other duties as assigned, right? So we do this because we're passionate about it and we enjoy doing it, but it's really good for the company, and it's really good for our community. And that's what really this ERG is about. It's about creating a sense of community within the company, where veterans stay connected to each other as well as to the broader company. Some of the things that we've done within that ERG that have been really successful for us that I recommend others do is we created a mentorship program for connecting early career individuals to more senior leaders. We created a veterans apprenticeship pilot program. We're doing it both for IT skills as well as for some of the trades, electricians and welders. We launched an internal social media site, our Yammer channel, where we can post stories and host discussion groups. We hold quarterly all-member calls. We host speakers and topics of interest to veterans. For example, one of our board members, Vice Admiral Carol Pottinger, spoke at our last one. Totally inspiring. All right, just a really great thing to be able to have her participate in something like that. We do regular recognition of national holidays and military birthdays, such as the Navy birthday. Happy birthday to the Navy, by the way, yesterday. So we do that on a regular basis just to stay connected. Supporting local and national charities is a real big deal to us. We support Fisher House recently. Armed Services YMCA. We got a Toys for Tots event kicking off pretty soon. So again, it's all about that community, right? And things we're doing. And not to be outdone by my other panel member here, but we also have lots of great swag too. So we give out our T-shirts to people. I got our Serco Vets T-shirt. We got our hats here. So all the veterans get these things. We wear it proudly, and we can support each other and recognize each other. So just some ideas there. Lots of other great ideas around just overall hiring outreach, creating military branded landing pages, ensuring your job requisitions are posted to places where veterans actually go, creating recruiting partnerships with military organizations. Military.com was mentioned. Things like veterans indexes, our Department of Labor Vets Medallion program. Those kind of industry recognitions bring talent, helps your company be recognized in the community. So tons of great ideas. And I've heard, Kelly, you had some fantastic ones too. So I'll turn it back over to you, George. Thanks.
All right. So that was very good. Thanks, Tom. And Kelly, a lot of your initial introduction highlighted a lot of those partnerships, those resources, advertising, all those things. Do you have another, kind of like a closing remarks on what advice would you give a small business? Something that you can, a nugget that we can take away from this, kind of like an action that we can take to start building that defined program?
Yeah, seriously, the best things you can do out there is just go for the free. MSCP, there's Next Op Vets. I'll drop it on the chat in just a moment. There's the woundedwarriorproject.org. They're national events, national organizations. Of course, the American Legion, they do some great virtual national calls. I was on a call with them free last month. I got 50 candidates out of one call in 2 hours. So the virtual events are free. There's lots of them out there, very minimal time and money investment, and they produce. So the virtual events, again, the veteran organizations out there, they're looking to work with you. Please hook up with them. I'll drop a couple of the websites on the chat room as soon as we finish, and encourage people to go out there and utilize these free services and organizations to drive those initiatives. I mean, we don't all have huge budgets, so let's go for the free and start right there.
I like that. That's a good tagline. Go for the free. Get those partnerships and those connections. Get connected to those veteran resources, and I think that is great for us to take away as a great nugget to take away. We do have, I think we have time for this question. We have a good question in the chat. The question is, how do you track your veteran teammates via a measure software source like a database? At what point do you start tracking them? Is it immediately at onboarding through HR? Is it after onboarding? George, can you share your thoughts or any advice you have on how to track your veteran teammates?
Sure. So we start actually from the application process, and it's all done through our human resources, what we call our people services team. So individuals have an opportunity to self-identify as a veteran or a military spouse, if so inclined, when they're applying to particular roles. And then also when they do the application, that information is collected again. So within our human resources, like I said, our people services team is collected, and from the very beginning, we do an outreach, as well. So I get a report once a month of all of our military connected hires. And when I say military connected, we're talking about that transitioning military professional, a veteran with industry experience, the men and women who serve in the Guard and Reserve, and our military spouses. So like some of the other organizations have mentioned, we have a military and veteran business resource group supported by 2 strong networks, a military spouse network within Booz Allen that has over 900 participants, and a armed services network, which is mostly made up of veterans or champion of veterans. And those individuals that join the firm also, in addition to tracking, we send them a welcome letter, and then we introduce them to those affinity groups that they can join and become a part of, the community. We also, and this is good information circling back to one of your other questions, in terms of what you can do to small businesses, maybe can do, and a hurdle that you can overcome, especially for that recently separated veteran, where maybe this is their first job out of the military is with your organization. We launched a transition center of excellence to help that individual acclimate to our environment, to our organization. And it takes onboarding to another level. It provides additional training to help them acclimate. It provides a strong recommendation for mentoring, and we do mentoring a couple of different ways. One-on-one, they can opt in, or they can become a part of a small, as well. And that's for our recently separated veterans, our military spouses also. But like I said, our people services track it, and then we use that obviously to measure where we are in terms of hiring and so forth, but also to reach out, engage, and get these folks more involved in the company. Make sure that it's not just, hey, you're not just here for a 9 to 5, but there's a whole community that you can become a part of. You can become active in some of the community work that we do. You can become active in some of the internal work that we do that really supports the whole military community within Booz Allen Hamilton.
Perfect. Thank you so much, George. It looks like we're just about out of time for this portion for the roundtable. But what I would like to do is I'd like to thank our panelists, Anthony, Tom, George, and Kelly. Thank you for taking the time to share with us from the 5-star employer perspective on how you're implementing your programs, giving us those nuggets on what we can take back to our organizations to make our programs better. There are a lot of good resources that have already been posted in the chat. So thank you to our panelists, but most of all, thank you to the attendees who took the time to attend this roundtable to gain more information and knowledge on how to, improve and increase your outreach to the veterans. So with that, thank you all for your time, and I will turn control of this meeting over to Nick.
Yes, thank you very much to everyone. Gerald, appreciate you moderating this panel. It's fantastic. We would now like to invite everybody over to the Morning Lounge, sponsored by Comcast NBC Universal, where Rodney Crable will lead us in a little discussion. So just over to your left side, you'll see the lounges area. Click over onto the Comcast Lounge. Thanks a lot.